the Austrian Grand Prix this weekend. It is a sprint weekend, so we're back to doing our mad predictions that we've been doing for the sprint weekends. We're back. Is it going to be a good weekend? Who's going to be on top? Who's going to have the quickest car? What are we saying?
Austria is usually a good weekend, and a sprint is going to be interesting.
It is. It's going to be very interesting.
I do quite like a sprint. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where the top 4 teams are. It's going to be interesting to see if RB have their pace back. It's going to see if Alpine can keep their pace.
Yes.
And a sprint can always throw up something if you want to keep it clean in the sprint race.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not so important because obviously you're qualifying now. It's separate. They've separated it. So it's not as important. So back in the day when it was your sprint race determined your starting position for your race.
Oh, it was hella important.
Oh my God. It was crazy. But these are little bonus points that could swing a championship if, say, Max has a bad one.
Yeah.
Goes out, Lando wins. That's 8 points. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah it's 8 points. Yeah.
8 points for Lando there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. In an ideal world, it is crucial, but in an ideal world, I actually kind of prefer the old format in terms of the spice. In terms of the spice. Yeah. I like the new format in terms of like the schedule because it's a lot easier to follow.
Scheduling, it's easier to follow.
Oh, so much easier to follow.
The scheduling was all over the place.
So mad. You'd have qualifying and then a sprint race and then it's like, can we not do that? So, but this, I prefer this because it keeps qualifying on a Saturday. If you want to just follow the main race, you can do that. If you don't want to follow the sprint, it doesn't matter. So, I do like the new format. We won't get too much into this here because obviously it's an Austria video. But I just want to point out that I think in terms of what we're going to see in the sprint is going to completely spoil the main race. This is the only issue I have with it because we're going to see, I mean, Austria qualifying, it's not as good as Monaco, but it's one of the best qualifyings of the year just simply because the track is so short.
It's so close.
It's the fine margins and we got the track limits and it's going to be, you know, it's a big qualifying session. We're going to get that twice. People are going to say that's great, but we're going to know who, we're going to see who's going to be on pole.
Well, the difference is, right, now in previous years, like if it was last year, I would agree with you. But the difference is now, obviously, you come out, you do your sprint quali, you do your sprint race. You come out of Parc Fermé. So, I don't know, say Red Bull have bullsed up their setup for whatever reason. And they're just down the order in the sprint qualifying like 8th and, well, if Max is 8th, Checo's last.
20th, yeah.
Yeah. do you know what I mean? Like, if they qualified on that, they then come out of Parc Fermé at the end of the race, sprint race. They can adjust their car because there's no rules stopping them now. And they can go from being 8th to 1st.
Yeah. That's
the difference this year. Parc Fermé is not in place between sprint race and qualifying. So the car's overall drivability, pace will change.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, hopefully that does spice something a little bit up.
Yeah, I mean, if it was last season, there's no change at all. We know the order.
Yeah.
But this season, the fact that Parc Fermé is not in place, it gives teams the opportunity. Like, as we saw in Texas, Aston Martin, sprint qualifying, they fucked the car up. And they were last. So they couldn't do anything for the whole weekend. Now, if they did that in sprint qualifying and there was no Parc Fermé between qualifying, like they were two separate like it is now, they'd fucked up the sprint, but they could then change the car and be better in the actual race. So it would have been different. Like, if we get that with a Mercedes this weekend, they fuck up the sprint, but they could be there in the actual race.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. That's fair enough. Yeah, it's just, I just kind of wish the sprints we had a little bit more spice. Like, sack off the sprint qualifying, do a reverse grid.
Reverse championship order.
Yeah, or just do something a bit different. It doesn't have to affect the main race. It doesn't have to affect the main qualifying session.
Yeah.
If you're going to do sprints, just make it something a little bit... Because it is just a mini weekend before the actual weekend.
Essentially.
Do something different, man. But anyway, that's a different topic for another day. I just thought, while we're on a sprint weekend, we might as well bring back up this conversation. For Austria, though, the actual track, who do you think is going to be the quickest?
Well, are we going to go through our predictions, or are we just going to say the team?
Well, let's... Okay, you know what? Let's do it. Let's start with your biggest flop.
My biggest flop?
Yeah, who's going to be your biggest flop this weekend?
Well, I'm going to leave out Perez. He's not included.
It's a cop-out to say Perez nowadays.
Yeah, it is a cop-out nowadays to say Perez. My biggest flop this weekend, I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz.
Ooh, okay, why?
I don't know. Obviously, we had a bit of animosity between Charles and Carlos there at the end of Spain.
We did.
Quite a bit.
We did.
Do I think Carlos is settled? Do I think Carlos knows the team he's going to? I don't know. The rumours are that he does know, but I don't know if he does, you know.
No.
And I think he's starting to get a bit unsettled, and he's going to try and prove himself. And I think he's racing people hard and then moaning if it doesn't come off. And I think if he goes too hard and pushes it over the limit, Austria's not a forgiving track in terms of with all them sausage curves.
Yeah.
He could easily spear off into someone or into a wall.
Yeah.
And I can see him overdoing it this weekend, trying to prove it.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. All right. That's fair enough. I don't agree, but I can see your line of thinking for that one. So, my biggest flop of the weekend is going to be, controversially actually, Lando Norris.
Really? No, I don't see that at all.
No, this is unlikely to happen, but I've got this gut feeling. I've got the vibes, right? I'm saying Lando just because... Kind of the reason why I picked Ferrari as my biggest flop in Spain. Which, by the way, I kind of sort of got right. Because all the upgrades, the expectations. I think Lando's coming into this weekend. Austria is a very good track for him. McLaren are... Well, after the last few weekends they've had, are expected to be on pace, if not quicker than Red Bull at some circuits. And I think Lando, with the expectation that he should have won Canada, with the expectation that he should have won Imola, and now Spain... I think he's going to be thinking, right, I've got to win this race. I've got to beat Max Verstappen no matter what. And I think, just as you said with Carlos Sainz, I think he might overcook it. And we might see a very rare, but costly mistake for Lando Norris this weekend. Whether it's in qualifying or the race, I don't know. But I think it'll be one of them. And I think he'll make one. So, not to say that Lando's a bad driver. I just think, obviously, I love Lando Norris. I think he's one of the best on the grid. But I think... we might see maybe a slight tad of immaturity come through from him this weekend. Nothing that he can't iron out, just as Max Verstappen has done over the last few years. But I think it'll come.
Maybe.
So, with that, who do you think is your biggest star of the weekend? Who will impress you the most?
Impress me? I'm gonna go with Pierre Gasly again.
You going Pierre Gasly?
Yeah, I'm going Pierre Gasly. He's had a solid couple of weekends, and I think he'll continue this form. And I do think he'll end up in the points again for Alpine.
All right, okay, that's fair enough. So, you know, in our driver ratings, Pierre Gasly has got the highest score possible the last 2 weekends. You reckon he'll pull through again?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a 5, maybe not. It could be a 4, but I think he's going to have a phenomenal race.
All right, fair enough. For me, my star of the weekend, the person who I think is going to impress me the most, I don't think it's going to be a single person, but I'm going to go with a team. And I'm going to say Aston Martin. I think they'll be back on the pace.
No chance.
I think Fernando will break the top 8.
No chance.
And I think they will be there. I've got this gut feeling. Aston Martin are coming back. The resurgence. They're going to figure out those upgrades that they put on the car. They're going to put them back in the mix.
That's deluded.
I've got this gut feeling, man. I think Aston Martin will be back in the top 10.
You need to go check that gut, because that gut's like... like, you need to go get that checked out, lad. That's not happening.
No, I've got this gut feeling. I think he will. I was gonna say first. I was gonna say Ricardo again, but I've predicted Ricardo about 3 times this season.
You have predicted Ricardo.
So
Ricardo did pop up in my head though.
Yeah, Daniel's
He's
quite
one to watch.
He's one to watch because he's. I think he's kind of getting his form back at the moment.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna say Aston Martin because if they do it, I've had the maddest prediction of all time.
Yeah, and if they don't do it, you look like an absolute fool.
Yeah, well, I'm deluded anyway. Let's move on to what will be the biggest surprise of the weekend. What's your one wildest prediction? Something completely out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, what's something that happens that will just completely catch everyone off guard?
Logan Sargent out-qualifies Albon.
Ooh. What? Excuse me? Come again, Big Fudge? Huh?
You wanted something wild and off guard.
Okay,
Logan
fair
Sargent
enough.
Out-qualifies Alex Albon in either of the qualifying sessions.
Right, you're just covering all bases now, are you?
Covering all bases.
Fucking hell. You don't dare to say outrace him, do you?
No chance. No chance.
I'm gonna say my one wild prediction. I think Sauber into Q3.
That's fair.
I think Sauber into Q3. I think one of them will do a madness.
Maybe.
Okay. Either way, let's go into your top 3 predictions.
Top 3. What?
Yeah.
For sprint quali.
Yep. Top 3 for sprint. No, sorry. Top 3 for sprint race. Pole for sprint quali. I forgot we had a sprint.
Yeah. What do you mean? We literally started.
I know, but the predictions all get messed up, man. All right? Leave it alone.
So, pole for the sprint. I'm gonna go with George Russell.
Ooh, Mr. Saturday. Fair enough.
I'm gonna go with George Russell for pole for the sprint.
Yep.
And then the sprint race, I'm gonna go with Lando, Lewis, then George.
Okay. No Max.
No Max. Now, my thinking behind it.
Okay.
I have past few weekends.
Yep.
Red Bull have turned up at the track, and the car does not turn on until the end of Q3, practice 3, apparently.
Yep.
Like, if you've got one practice session, Red Bull seem to need all 3 to turn their car on.
Yep.
At the moment. And I think if they continue that form, they're going to struggle in the sprint.
Okay. That's a fair way of thinking about it. I'm going to go with my pole position, I think, will be Charles Leclerc. And my top 3 is Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen. Ferrari 1-2. In the sprint. Locked in.
No
Ferrari are going to be good around here. Ferrari are
not going to be good.
They are.
They're not.
They're going to be good around here.
Ferrari are going to be 4th best team behind Mercedes, McLaren, and Red Bull at both Austria and Britain.
All right, we'll see.
They're going to follow the form of what they've just done in Spain.
Okay. All right, we'll see. Okay, right, we'll move on then. So let's go on to your race predictions. Pole position. And your
pole
top
position, I'm going Lando Norris.
Okay.
And my top 3 is Lando win, Max 2nd, Lewis 3rd.
Ooh, so you think Lando's going to follow through with the win?
Yeah.
Okay. My pole position, very boring, I know, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen will be on pole, and I think Max will win the race. He'll finish first. Second, I think it will be Lewis Hamilton. And third, I think it'll be Lando Norris. Now, I predicted, obviously, Lando to have that mistake, but I think that mistake will cost him the win of the race, and he'll eventually finish third instead of first. So that's my prediction there.
Right.
And yes, I'm predicting Hamilton for a podium. I think it's coming. As I said, the run of form till the end of the season, Hamilton's going to pick up a podium in every race. It's happening. ladies and gentlemen. It happened 2 seasons running. It's going to happen now.
So it's not going to be every race.
Nah, it's going to be every race.
It's not going to be every race.
I'm deluded. Anyway, that is our prediction. Yeah, he will. That's our predictions for the Austrian sprint weekend. Let us know your predictions in the comments below.